Hello, everyone. I am Douglas C. Welch, and welcome to Container Garden Update live from the garden. Oh, the technical issues have been a little crazy trying to do some stuff we're doing here, but I think we're good to go today. I want to thank you all for joining us today. For more information, you can always visit the website, douglasewelch.com. There you'll find links to a gardener's notebook as well as everything else that I do. By the way, if you're watching this on YouTube after the fact and you like the video, please click that like button. It really helps people discover our videos. It helps out our channel and helps spread the word about a gardener's notebook. So the first thing we're going to try and do today is we're going to try and go remote to the front yard where I have my lovely Carol Merrill, my wife Roseanne, who's going to show us some of the things happening in the front garden. And I'm going to switch over to her camera now. Roseanne, can you hear us?
I can.
Okay, why don't you just go and show us the line of pots down the road here. Okay, on the right-hand side there, go to the first pot there. Let's just go one by one. So there on the first pot, that's our strawberry pot. Strawberries have been struggling a little bit, but they are coming back, I think, because of the new soaker hose that's been added there. So hopefully those will start to fruit a little bit more. Could be the wrong season, too. I've got to do a little more research on that. Let's go to the next pot, Roseanne. And here we have our peppermint pot with our lemon thyme in the other corner. This pot is just going gangbusters. Peppermint, of course, is very easy to grow, so it's not a big issue. The lemon thyme has settled in very nicely and continues throwing off. We're probably at the point with the lemon thyme on the left-hand side there that we're actually going to need to actually prune it back a little bit and give it a kind of a haircut so that it'll get some new fresh growth, which is a little bit better for cooking with rather than the more woody growth that can come off of it. Okay, go to the next one. And here's our big success right now. These are our radishes on the right-hand side there. Big radishes coming up. Again, immediate gratification on those. Now, I don't know if you can show it, Rose, or not, but on the left-hand side there, you see those little tiny sprigs. Those are carrots interwoven in there. I split it half and half, but it looks like they migrated a little bit in the watering. So hopefully that they won't interfere with each other too much. It is looking good, though, that I probably won't have to thin them too much. I think I sowed them pretty well. You can see the soaker hose, again, running through the center of the pot. It's okay in this bed that things go down into the ground itself because that's where our roses are. You can see our bankside rose kind of peeking around the edge of that pot there. And so it's okay that the water runs the entire length of the soaker hose. Normally with containers, you'd probably use something like a drip system or something like that because it would put the water right just only into the pot. But we got a little bit lucky here in that regard. This is our lettuce. We're letting it back to seed again. This is just kind of lying fallow right now. We're just letting this all go back to seed and seeing what appears once the temperature cools down. Once you get a little natural rain, we'll see if these actually sprout up some new lettuce plants in this area. If not, we'll rip everything out and replant it in lettuce once the fall arrives. Okay, let's go to the next pot on the left. These are our portions. Oh, goodness gracious. They didn't do very well. I don't think they had enough water, honestly. We planted these before we got the soak hose in place. And, you know, I just don't think it did very well. Luckily, this last one looks like it's taking off now, and maybe we'll get a good group of plants from it. You'll notice that a volunteer lettuce over there on the left-hand side already popped up and immediately bolted and went to seed due to the heat. And so it's kind of popped up in this bed as well. Now, Roseanne, I'm going to have you go back to that pot to your right one more time. Sorry, just wanted to say one more thing about that. I had a question about what was that thing in the middle of the pot there, that green lid. That is I guess it's a quart or a 2-quart juice bottle, plastic juice bottle, that we punched holes in the bottom of and then inserted into the soil here as I built these pots originally. And then what that allows us to do is put supplemental watering right down into the roots of the plant on those particularly hot days. It can be very difficult with containers here in Southern California when it gets so hot. It's about 90-something today, because pots, because they're exposed on all sides, can dry out rather quickly. So that can actually help us just get a little more water down into the roots where it's most needed. Okay, you can go to the left now. And finally, this is our, we have oregano in the upper left-hand corner. We've got parsley going to seed in the middle there. Those are the flowers you see popping up there. Again, a little bit of an experiment. I'm just experimenting to see if the seed will drop back into this pot, or maybe even into the ground underneath it, and sprout up down there once the rains arrive. In the foreground there, you can just see our chives popping up. I think, Roseanne, it's about time you cut some of those off and add them to your baked potato. What do you think?
I'm good with that.
Okay, and the last thing I wanted to show, Rose, is over by the dayflower there by the front door. And this is some dayflower, and this is kind of a semi-native here in California. It was popping up in another bed. I planted one tiny little sprig in this pot, maybe a month or so ago, and this is what's resulted. Give it enough water, give it enough, give it less competition, and boy, it just goes gangbusters. So what I've actually done is filled a few pots with this stuff, and I've actually started to plant it in the bed next to it. Here you can maybe see down there in the ground, there's actually a few plants popping up there in the ground. This bed is notorious for not growing anything well. I don't know what it is. I've supplemented the soil. I've done everything I can think of doing. These seem so hardy that they seem to take even in this difficult soil. So I'm hoping that in this one little trick here, it'll start to green up this one area that's always been rather bare. Well, I want to thank you, Roseanne, for showing us the front garden. I'll let you go now. Thanks again.
Okay, bye.
And here we are back on the potting bench. Back here, a few things to do. Here's another one of those dayflower pots, just going crazy. It's a nice little plant. It kind of sprawls and kind of dangles and moves in the breeze. It gets these pretty tiny little blue flowers on the end when it does bloom, and they only last for about a day, but they're just a nice little accent. Again, a little more green. That's been one of my big goals here. Now, Roseanne, if you want to, you can actually hang up the call, and that'll break your video there as well. So here on the bench, a little checking in. First of all, we got our lovely lantana cutting that we did a while ago. It's starting to throw off tremendous new growth. Now this is a prostrate form of the rosemary, of the lantana. It likes to lay flat. That's why it's kind of dangling like that. So it doesn't mean it's being sickly. It's just that's its natural behavior. But this one's, again, taking off gangbusters. I moved it up into this bigger pot, give it a little more room to grow, and then eventually to go back out into the garden. Same thing here with our little jacaranda tree. This is one of them here. And here's another that I haven't yet got potted up into its, let me see, put it against me and see if you can see a little better. But this one's going to go into a big pot like this one for further growing on and for, a good couple months of its lifespan. This one's doing really well. This one was struggling a little bit, and that's why I potted him up first. Oh, what else do we got? This is an oak seedling that I found in the garden, popped up in the garden the other day. These do happen. The birds and the squirrels or somebody must bring these in because we really don't have any oak trees that close to us. But these always pop up in the garden. So this is one of our California live oaks, more than like it's kind of got almost like a holly-looking leaf to it. Holly doesn't grow here, despite Hollywood. They found that out when they tried to plant it in Hollywood when it was the housing subdivision. So I'm pretty sure this is an oak tree. And again, into a big pot right away, so he has plenty of space to grow for months to come until he gets so big that I'll have to move him into something larger, or perhaps give him away as a gift to someone to actually plant back in their yard or garden. Oh, what else do we have here? A couple success stories. Again, our little rosemary cuttings that we took. These two rooted better in water. Actually had them in a little jar of water on the potting bench. Sure enough, they threw off a bunch of new roots, and I potted them up, and they are now basically in these pots, and they'll stay here until they get somewhat bigger. These I hope to make rosemary topiaries. Basically have one straight shoot come up with a ball on the end or something like that. I've done some of those in the past, and I really like the way they look, and they're great gifts, again, to give away or just to have around your own house or garden. So these are coming on. I'm going to be doing more of those soon, taking more cuttings and seeing what results from that. We have a huge rosemary plant, so it's not like I don't have enough cuttings to take from. And yeah, I think pretty much finally, we're not going to go too long today, even though this is a live show, but I did just want to use this. I forgot to say at the beginning, I'm involved in the Dog Days of Podcasting. That's a 30-day podcasting challenge, 30 podcasts in 30 days. So one of the things that I decided when I went into the Dog Days of Podcasting, when I was going to show off a bunch of different ways of podcasting. That's why we're doing this live today via Google Hangouts on air, so that I can show you can do something live, have it recorded directly to YouTube, and then also download it and post it as a podcast later in your podcast feed. So that's why we're actually doing this live, just kind of playing with the technology, trying it out, giving people an idea of what you can do with the technology. Finally, today, these are our lavender cuttings, and I basically have 4 cuttings still alive. You can see they're throwing off new growth. They're very vigorous. We know this stuff. Unfortunately, you see this one here in the foreground right there. If I wiggle him up, nah, he doesn't appear to have any roots. And sure enough, if we pull him completely out, I need a piece of white paper to lay him against. But pulling completely, I see there are no roots at all. That's kind of the way you test. You kind of gently tug on them and see if they're going to have given any roots at all. And that one, of course, didn't, unfortunately. But off to the compost pile with him. These four now, I'm actually going to split up into each into their own. I guess these are, what are these, gallon containers or half gallons? I think this is a half gallon. A half gallon container like this, each one. Grow them on a little bit further. I want them to be really vigorous and really robust. And then these are going to go back in the garden. If you saw the In the Garden episode I did yesterday, you saw that triangular bed that we've now refurbished. That's where these are going to go. They will match another triangular bed on the other side of the front garden that we've also refurbished with lavender. And the great thing about it is that lavender we bought. This lavender we made right here out of our own garden. Can't be any cheaper than that. What I did want to do here is, let me see if I can do this a little easily. I want to knock one of these out and just let you do it via, right now, via Twitter. You can Twitter the Gardener's Notebook Twitter account, which is gardenersnotebk at twitter.com. And if you do Gardener's Note BK and give me an @ reply there, I actually have my phone on. It'll ping me and it'll let me know immediately that someone's replied to me, and I can answer the question live. Again, thanks for joining us for this experiment, for this container garden update. By the way, in case you didn't see, due to the network outage, I basically knocked out the lavender. The one had no roots at all. This one had a really nice root. I'm surprised this one is still living. I'm going to put him back in the soil and see, in case you weren't able to see that on the video there. Until next time, I'm Douglas E. Welch. For more information, visit the website douglasewelch.com. There you'll find information on a gardener's notebook as well as everything else that I do. I apologize